Liverpool dates back to the year 1207, when it was granted a charter by King John as a borough and port. It achieved city status in 1880. Its distinctive waterfront is famous throughout the world. It has two cathedrals, the largest Anglican cathedral in the world, having taken 74 years to construct, from 1904 to 1978, and a Roman Catholic cathedral of modern design, which took only 5 years to build in the 1960s. Liverpool is essentially a great Victorian city, developed by entrepreneurs and civic-minded people. It has a vast number of listed buildings, with new ones of good design from the 1990s taking shape. Rodney Street, a street of doctors, is in one of 30 conservation areas. This could be Faulkner Street of a century ago, if only horse-drawn cabs were there instead of cars. Such a transformation does happen from time to time, as Liverpool has been host to many period dramas for the television and film industry. Faulkner Street, for example, was the setting for the TV production Secret Agent in the early 1990s. The Royal Liverpool Philharmonic Society has raised millions of pounds in order to refurbish the 1930s Art Deco Philharmonic Hall. St George's Hall, built in the form of a Greek temple in 1846, was designed by a 23-year-old architect, Harvey Lonsdale. It's the centrepiece of a large group of neoclassical buildings, which include a museum, a library and an art gallery, all dating from Victorian times. Liverpool is also proud of its more recent sculptures, like Epstein's Liverpool Resurgent on Lewis's building, and those that commemorate the Beatles era in the area of the famous cavern. Albert Dock was built in the 1840s, the age of sail and small vessels. It was designed by Jesse Hartley, Liverpool's dock engineer. Both the Merseyside Maritime Museum and the Tate Gallery of the North are now housed in the old warehouses. Albert Dock is the largest Grade 1 listed building in the country and has been developed as both a place in which to live and as a tourist attraction. Its success is such that it's the second largest visitor attraction in the country, with 6 million people coming here every year. So much for the present. Let's travel back in time and look at some aspects of Liverpool life in the 20s and 30s, when the city was very different from what it is now. Our story begins at 10 to 9 on a morning in 1929, when ferries from Wirral disgorged their rush hour passengers. For many, their daily constitutional exercise was an anti-clockwise processional walk on the top deck of the ferry, effectively walking to Liverpool as the boat chugged across the Mersey. At this time, over 25 million journeys a year were made by the ferries as they plied between Liverpool and Rock Ferry, Birkenhead Woodside, Seacombe, Egremont and New Brighton. It's the final summer of the Eastern service. The origins of the Birkenhead ferry go back to the 13th century, when monks from the priory in Birkenhead were granted rights by the king to ferry travellers across the river. Some people worked in offices close to the pier head. Others continued their journeys by electric trams, which ran frequently in all directions from 3 terminal loops. The first electric tram ran in 1898 and the last in 1957. Now let's take a trip through the shopping centre of Lord Street and Church Street. Imagine we're on a bus or tram as we pass the Edinburgh Cafe, Lord Street Arcade and Bunny's on the corner of Whitechapel. Marks and Spencer can be seen where they still are today, and street traders sell their wares outside, as they do today. It's 1929 summer sale time in Blacklow's famous store. Limousines line the roadway and trams pass by. Blacklow's, formed in 1908, was a partnership between a Mr. Blacklow, who already had shops in the city, and a Mr. Wallace, a buyer with Lewis's. The store design was based on Galeries Lafayette in Paris, with balconies overlooking a central well. At the time, it was the biggest store in Liverpool. May 1941 saw the store gutted by fire as a result of city centre bombing, only to be rebuilt in the 1950s to the original design. It finally closed in 1988. How about a new chest of drawers for £5 10 shillings? (1930) and Blacklow's cashiers take their annual outing paid for by the company. They're mostly young girls from 14 years of age. The event took place either in Liverpool or Wirral, but no records of the exact location seem to be in existence. The store would close for a full day on the usual Wednesday half-day closing for Liverpool shops. These girls are the cashiers who worked in the pay kiosks. There were more than 100 of them. The store, in its heyday, employed 1,000 people, so different from staffing levels in departmental stores today. No television and very little radio in the 20s meant that people made their own entertainment. There were no designer clothes to fit the activity you were engaged in. Often men wore their suits, and ladies' outfits were incomplete without hats of many styles. Many of these young people may still be alive today, who knows? The Wallace family and store supervisors managed the games. On the death of Mr. Blackler, the Wallace family took over completely as he had no offspring. Many of the older generation of Liverpudlians have fond memories of Blackler's store, and it's sadly missed. Sefton Park was a pleasant haven in 1933. Regrettably, its famous palm house suffered wanton vandalism in the 1980s. It's the largest civic park in the country and is one of a ring of parks circling the city and constructed in Victorian times. Parks of this type were often financed through the sale of high-quality housing on the periphery of the park. It was a gathering place for mothers and nannies with babies in deep-sided prams with small wheels. On the lake, the Jolly Roger mini-replica sailing ship was a familiar sight. In the 30s, Sefton Park's lake regularly froze over, the winter of 1933 being no exception. Locals took advantage of this by enjoying ice skating and consuming roasted chestnuts. Disaster in July 1933. The Philharmonic Hall is destroyed by fire. The Liverpool Philharmonic Society was founded in 1840 and by 1849 had raised funds to open this building, now gutted by fire. By 1939, the present hall was built in the Art Deco style by Herbert Rouse. To this day, a hydraulic cinema proceeding